Good evening, Lisa.
Good evening, Andrew.
Are you being served? Continues with German Week, or at
Yes.
least it does on the disc,
It does on the disc.
because according to the transmission dates, it should be Wedding Bells
Yes.
next.
Wedding Bells was shown at the end of March. This was shown at the beginning of April.
Yes, so I don't know quite what's happened,
Somebody got confused.
unless it's production order maybe.
Possibly.
Sometimes these things happen.
Yes.
But you've been looking forward to this one, haven't
I
you?
have. I like German Week.
Yes.
Mm.
And it
It's
is
silly.
the partial basis for Beans of Boston.
Yes.
The American attempt
The American pilot.
to do it.
They got no further than the pilot.
Than the pilot, which does exist on a very shoddy copy that I've seen, and it's interesting to sort of spot the differences when it comes to the sort of set piece at the end. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But Mrs. Slocum is very yellow, isn't she?
She
today?
is. Well, hair is. Yes, it's
I said mustard. It's not quite, but
No.
I was thinking of the
of the Coleman's mustard packet. That bright sort of yellow.
The colour of yellow.
See,
that,
it's somewhere in
Coleman's
between
mustard
that
comes
and
in.
actual mustard yellow. It's a really sort of like a neon yellow, really.
Really?
Yeah, it's extraordinarily
Expect
bright.
it to light up.
Yes.
But yes, it's as the name implies, it's German Week.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a German display. There's flags. There's clothes all over the place. And there's 100 hats with shaving brushes on the side. Mr. Humphreys is waving a dress stick about, isn't he?
Yes, it's like a sword stick kind
Yeah,
of thing.
sort of adamant thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing Adam Adamant would whip out to dispatch whichever enemy he's facing that week.
Can you see Mr. Humphreys dispatching enemies with a sword stick?
No.
No. All right. They've got some cufflinks and things, but one of the highlights is the lederhosen.
The lederhosen, yes.
Or the leather swimming trunks.
Little leather shorts.
Yes. Mr. Humphreys knows Germany because he went camping there once.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, all the stuff on it is written in German, which confuses everybody.
Yes.
Is it wash by hand is on there, but the one that sticks in the mind is Ausfahrt and Einfahrt, isn't it?
Ausfahrt and Einfahrt, which is exit and entrance.
Yeah, way out and way in and signs.
Yeah.
So that's three languages you know way out in now, isn't it? Because you know in Welsh as well.
Yes.
Mr. Granger doesn't like the common market though.
No.
No. And common market is our entry into the common market is 73, isn't it? So we've been in there a little while now, but again, it's Curse of Peladon, isn't it? Curse of Peladon is 72, so
not for much longer, but yeah.
No. But there's a box of sex underhosen, literally under trousers.
Under trousers.
But Mrs. Slocum doesn't want to sell German sex knickers.
No.
But it turns out they just mean six.
Six, yeah.
But yeah, and then now this is a timely thing. We get the sight of the Buston halter.
The busted halter, yes.
Now, a Buston halter is a
bra.
A lady's bra.
A brassiere.
But it's not a word you expect to hear very often.
No.
But we've heard it twice in just over 24 hours, haven't we?
Yes.
As Michael Palin.
Michael Palin was on the One Show yesterday.
And quoted the word Buston halter.
I think they were asking him about what languages he knows.
Right.
Because they did, they played him, I think it was Finnish or something.
Oh, right.
Of I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
About,
that's right, because he had to...
You had to try and work out what it was.
Yeah, because there was an episode of Monty Python that he did in German.
Oh, right,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So, I think the only word he could remember was Buston halter.
Yeah.
Because it's...
But these are supposedly small.
Small, yeah.
But you could carry a lot of coal in them, according to Mr.
You could put them
Arms.
on your head and keep your head warm.
Yeah. But, yeah... apparently they've also had Russian Cosmetic Week as well. And there was the mix-up over the...
Yeah, it would have been alright if Mrs. Slocum hadn't mixed up the hairspray and the underarm deodorant.
Yeah, so what happened to Mrs. Mash?
She got out of the bath, sprayed under her arms, went to pull the blind down and
got
was stuck.
Then Mr. Mash was selling tickets.
Yes.
Do you like Mr. Mash? He gets increasingly creepy,
He
doesn't
does.
he? Yeah.
Well, I was going to say to you, the last shot of him in the episode,
he's gone off
he's
with
him with a dummy again.
a topless
he's
dummy.
Absolutely obsessed with bloody blooming shop for dummies.
But yeah, the bell goes, stand by for the mad rush.
Yes.
And Captain Peacock's got a little card of phrases, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's sort of clicking his
Yeah.
heels.
He's
and
walking
stuff.
around doing these phrases, and Mr. Humphrey says, "Watch out, he'll click his heels in a minute," and he clicks his heels. Yeah.
But enter a small German fellow,
Yes.
and Joanna Lumley.
And Joanna Lumley, who looks like a German because she's blonde.
Is she?
And was possibly married to Jeremy Lloyd at the time.
Yes, I forget whether she is or she isn't. But I think that's her second appearance in it now, because
Yes.
she was...
Yeah, she's the perfume girl in
the Bliss girl, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, he starts talking in German, and the phrases are not helpful, so he
No.
just tears them up.
Yes.
But they're after a warm coat.
Warm coat because it's cold.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a reference to Colditz.
Yes.
And
Chanel, because there's Chanel.
they've got Bavarian. They've got Bavarian wool.
Bavarian wool. And it's the man because he's.
But they want Harris Tweed.
Harris Tweed. We're only selling German goods this week.
But they want British goods.
Yeah. Are you not proud to be British?
Would you like a hat?
Yeah.
I don't want a silly German hat like
Yes.
that as a hat for the tourists.
Yes.
Yeah. And eventually they just walk out.
Yes.
So
Mumbling.
yeah. Yes, and enter a lady in a blue dress, which is cut rather low.
It is cut rather low. It's quite hard for Captain Peacock to keep his eyes
Yeah, Peacock has a good look.
up front.
Yeah.
No, that's the wrong way to say it. To look at her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's distracted.
Mm.
They've got some Westphalian tights,
Yes.
which are available in black or white.
Yes.
And she doesn't wear
Bras.
the button halters.
Doesn't believe in him.
No.
I find that hard to believe actually, 'cause she's quite
Come on.
well strapped up by the
Okay.
looks of it. Unless the dress is tight and he's holding her
Do you want to demonstrate
button
again?
halters up.
Button halters. You keep saying that. She's actually looking for the ladies,
Yes.
though. What was it? Turn left after the house fart or something. They have a meeting afterwards.
Because it's been a disaster.
Yes.
And all they've sold is some strumps.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to the strumps in a minute. But Mr. Granger can't stay long. He's
No.
going to have a bath.
Yes.
But he can't get his old boiler working.
No.
Mrs. Slocum says it's not being delayed is not fair on her pussy.
No. And it's the first mention of the pussy for a while.
Yeah, that's true. Mr. Humphrey's oven's going to turn itself on at 7, which sounds all right, but it turns out he's got his slippers, in
Slippers
them.
are inside
in
her.
them. Apparently, Mr. Lucas and Miss Brahms might be going to the pictures.
Yes.
Though she hasn't said yes yet.
Yes.
Mr. Rumbold arrives and sits in the chair, and then Captain Peacock hasn't got a chair, so
No.
Mr. Lucas has to go and get him one.
Yes.
And what does he do with it?
He gets the chair. It's the chair by the counter,
Yeah.
one that Mr. Granger normally sits on when he's had a shock. And he sort of pushes it up. He takes it up, pushes it into Captain Peacock's leg, so he
He sort of-
flops down
yeah.
onto it.
Just to make the point.
Yes.
But yeah, they've made the grand total of 32 pence from one pair of strumps, which is socks from Mr. Granger. So Miss Brahms has learnt the German for corsets, which is
Corsets
with a K.
with a K.
Then we get into a discussion about Mrs. Slocum remembers being flung flat on her back at Clapham Common by the German Air
By the
Force.
German Air Force. Yeah.
Mr. Lucas is reprimanded when he says every other time it was the American Air Force.
Yes.
And she just says, "Can we knock it off, please?"
Yeah.
She even remembers what she said. But yeah, apparently Einfahrt and Ausfahrt confuses people, and so does Herren and Dammen on
Yes.
on the toilets. A woman came in, saw the word starting HER, and went into the gents, and Mr. Granger says, "I'm here to tell you she won't make the same mistake again."
Yes.
So-
Makes me wonder what he was doing.
Yeah. But yeah, Mrs. Slocum says the Boston halters are coarse. So how can they sort of improve things generally?
Yeah.
And Captain Peacock immediately suggests a wine bar with serving wenches.
Yes. In low cut tops.
Yes. Mr. Rumbold should dress up, says Miss Brahms. What was it? As Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
With his nuts in his neck.
Nuts in his neck.
Do the thing.
She sort of does with his nuts in his neck. She does this thing here. Yeah.
That's one of those good freeze frames, isn't
Yes.
it? There's a few good freeze frames in this episode. Next day, Mr. Rumbold phones up Mr. Grace, who is getting increasingly confused.
Yes.
But apparently the new figures are 64 pence.
Yes.
So
2 pairs of
two
strumps.
pairs of strumps.
Yeah.
Mr. Rumbold wants Mr. Grace to come and look at what they've set up.
Uh-huh.
But it's Tuesday evenings and he's going to the club.
Yes.
The strip club.
The strip club,
Yeah. But Mr. Rumbold happens to mention his secretary's serving German wine, and suddenly he's a lot keener.
Mm-hmm.
So enter his secretary, and this is Moira Foote. Is this the
Yes.
first time we've seen her?
Possibly.
Although she might be in Wedding Bells, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember. So.
But she's in the sort of serving wench.
Yes, and she's got the sort of laced up, sort of slightly corseted top, which is showing her assets off quite well.
But she can't do it upright.
No, she wants to tighten it, so she says to Mr. Rumbold, "Can you put your finger on the lace there?"
On the lace there, Mr. Rumbold is just quite oblivious, isn't he? He's just happy to do it, but he's not distracted in any way.
He's not
just
looking at the goods.
Yeah, and then enter Captain Peacock.
Yeah, and he gets his finger stabbed, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Mr. Rumbold.
Yeah, Captain Peacock comes in as a surprise. Apparently, Miss Thorpe, that's her name, wasn't tight enough. But off she goes, and Peacock is just sort of in a bit of a distracted...
Yeah, he's sort of looking after her.
Yeah, even after the door's shut.
Wistfully, almost.
Yeah. But he's in lederhosen.
He is.
And he's not got an air of authority in this, has he? So
he's got a lot of air.
So he's allowed to have a bigger brush in his hat.
Yes.
Mrs. Slocum has been sampling the wine, and Captain Peacock's trousers are creaking.
Yes.
Yeah. Enter Mr. Lucas in his trousers, and you laughed. You said he laughed?
Yeah.
Because he's laughing, he's grinning, isn't he?
Yes.
Everybody's, in this sequence, everybody's sort of grinning to themselves from here on because of the silly costumes, isn't it?
And his trousers are quite tight, his shorts.
Yeah, and then Mr. Humphreys comes in.
And his are very tight.
And he can
They must have been uncomfortable,
He can barely walk.
No, he's sort of, it's quite hard.
Yeah.
He says his eyes are watering for some reason.
And he calls, "Come in, Rumpelstiltskin."
Yes.
And they enter Mr. Granger.
With his slippers on.
He's still got his slippers on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss Brahms is having trouble with her braces.
Yeah, she don't know whether to have them there or there.
Or there. Which would you have done?
Probably what she does later on. She crosses them over.
Yeah, because Mrs. Slocum comes in and hers are crossed, aren't they? But she's very merry now.
She's very merry, yes. And you get some great acting from Molly Slocum.
Molly Slocum. This is one of those ones where Molly Slocum, Molly Sugden really throws herself into it now, doesn't she? Because she's very good at drunk acting.
She is very good at drunk acting.
But she's also very good in the dance sequence in a bit.
Yeah.
But she's feeling giddy and she reckons her hat must be too tight.
And she's not afraid to make a fool of herself either, Molly Sugden. She's quite happy.
She catches sight of the gents department and she just starts laughing.
Yeah.
She's got her cross braces. So Mr. Humphreys and Mr. Lucas start doing drink.
Yeah, they go and get a drink.
And they smash their flagons.
Yeah, and they smash.
They flash. But what Mr. Lucas has got the two jug handles.
Yes.
And he puts them up and he says, "Who's this then?" Mr. Rumbold comes in. And Mrs. Slocum says, "Twiddle his knob, somebody, he's out of focus."
Yes.
Mr. Grace comes in and there's a German band in the lift.
Yes.
They've got a sort of accordion and
they're in costume.
And all that. Mr. Granger says hello to him and he says, "Good evening, Sonny."
Mr. Granger says hello to Mr. Granger. I don't think you said that.
Mr. Granger says hello to Mr. Grace.
Oh, okay.
And he says hello, Sonny, and he just looks surprised.
Yes.
Miss Thorpe says she works under Mr. Rumbold. But nobody, certainly the gents are not keen to do the dance, are they?
No.
And there's a slight rebellion from Captain Peacock. But if they don't do the dance, the money for the band will be stopped out of their wages. So they tell the German band to start up. "Ready when you are, mate."
Yes.
So they're not actually very German.
No.
And then we get into the whole slapping routine, don't we?
Yes, they do the whole, when twiddling around and the slapping. Yes.
So it's all the... I won't do it to you, but Captain Peacock slaps Mrs. Slocum and she slaps him harder and he slaps her harder again.
And then they sort of fight.
And it's real sort of...
Yeah.
Like cats fighting,
isn't
it? But I was thinking of the fish slapping dance now as well because you said about
Michael Palin.
Yeah.
Because as I said, Michael Palin was on the One Show yesterday and he was saying about when he did the fish slapping dance that when they rehearsed it, the water was quite high, when they come to film it, it had dropped by 15 foot. So
Yeah.
he fell 15 feet before he hit the water, which is very dangerous, actually.
But all this is a great eye-opener to Mr. Grace, and he
Mm.
says Grace Brothers are coming out of the common market.
Yes.
So they do a bit more dancing,
Yes.
don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, as we said when we talked about it in the article we did on the podcast, that this is very tightly shot.
Yes.
The whole dance
It's
thing.
brilliantly
'Cause
shot.
the cameras are cutting on the music each
Yeah.
time. You know, and you get two shots and all that,
then
and you're
very
really in
quick,
there getting all what everybody's doing. So it's
Yeah.
been not only carefully worked out
Yeah.
with the actors,
But
but,
with the
the actual
cameras as
camera
well.
cutting
Yeah.
as well.
Which is probably quite hard.
It
still at
is,
this
yeah. Oh
stage,
no,
'cause-
it's a great bit of skill on the part of the cameraman to get it all in what I presume is probably just one go by
Yeah.
the look of it. I can't
Yeah.
really spot any edits.
No.
In the American version, and it's sort of come to light since that they had really old, heavy cameras,
Yes.
so they couldn't manoeuvre them and cut with the sort of
So they shoot it.
flexibility. It's a lot further back,
Yeah.
isn't
It's
it?
actually it's like watching it on a
On stage, yeah.
Yeah. It's like
Where-
you're in the audience and you're watching it on stage.
whereas this, you're much more tight, isn't
Yes.
it, on it?
Like you're in amongst it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you really see the
Yeah.
detail.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
is good. But yeah, I certainly enjoyed that. There's everybody has something
Yeah.
to
Something
do,
to do,
don't
yeah.
they? You
Yeah.
know, they all have got Mr. Humphreys' trousers and
And they're starting to realise that John Inman
Mm.
can carry these sort of ridiculous outfits, and
because he's
these
got a
sort of
really
bits.
big thing in his
Yeah,
hat.
a big
did you
brush,
say?
isn't it? Yeah.
And
So I think probably from the next season you'll start to see
you're going to
Mr.
capitalise on that.
Humphreys
Yeah,
being pushed more to the front.
yeah.
Yeah. And we're
But
increasingly
yeah,
watching
do you want to score that one?
Yeah, I think I'd score that a 9 out of 10 actually.
Right. Oh, blimey. I think I'll give it an 8.
All right,
just
we'll call it an 8.5 then.
so we got some more room to manoeuvre.
Yeah,
But,
call it 8.5.
It's German week then. And so is it Wedding Bells next then?
Wedding Bells next, yes.
Right, this is terribly confusing.
Mm.
Bye bye.
Bye.